great. That's for sure. We were talking about this book, actually. These are our topics of conversation. We are the news because we make the news. We're talking about this book, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. Yuval Noah Harari. It's a great book, actually, because it's long. How long is it? How many pages? 1,000 or something? 800 pages. Well, my book, for example, The Anti-Human Manifesto, is going to be around 300 pages. So for the next. But this is,
It's not 800, no.
it's more. It's way more than that.
No, it's less.
Close to 1,000.
No, you gotta give,
How long is it? Come on.
it's,
Your life. Come on. But he's, in the
actual
meantime,
reading is-
we're here live from close to the mountain. Look at that beautiful view. We always talk about everything we're going to talk. And randomly, when we have our conversations, what we say that we're going to go live. This is the talk. This is the random talk about certain things. 466. So my book is going to be kind of like this. A little bit too bulky. And it talks about the history of humanity. It has a lot of points on point. I think it's more assertive when it comes down to science, less so in history. But we were discussing a couple of points. For example, the Montezuma thing of the Spanish conquerors, remember?
Yes.
We were talking about that yesterday. What we were talking about exactly? Talk a little, Randy. If not, I'm the only one here.
we were talking about Montezuma and Cortez, and the Spanish leader, or Conquistador Cortez, when he landed in Mexico, he first ran into some other natives that were, the underling of Montezuma. So he befriended them for maybe a couple of weeks, and then he got them to take them to Montezuma himself, and Cortez and his guards then killed Montezuma's guards and interrogated Montezuma for a couple of months in order to break up the Aztec Empire, which was very fascinating. The whole idea is, you've got these Aztecs, millions of them, millions of Indians.
I'll say native.
Or native.
I'll always stick to the
Right.
fact that Indians are from India. Here is more natives, going from an anthropological point of view, of course.
Right. Okay. So it is just crazy that he was able to capture Montezuma and interrogate him and interrogate the other Montezuma leaders, and eventually
His subjects, right? And subordinates, right?
his subordinates, right?
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing, and this is why that's my take. I mean, the people actually mix up and think that countries in the continent are directly related to the ancient pre-Columbian cultures, so pre-Columbus, and that is absolutely not true. An abject lie. This is why. The country of Mexico, the country of the United States of America, of Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Peru, Bolivia, Colombia, blah, blah, blah. You can go through the whole continent. The countries, the relationship with the natives is that there were lands occupied by natives. You know that it is very debatable that before Columbus arrived to the continent, some experts were saying that there were only 8 million people living all through the continent. Others were saying that there were 20 million. And the most populous estimates were of around 110 million inhabitants. We're talking about the largest continent in the world, all the way through Alaska to Tierra del Fuego. So just think about today. I mean, the big countries, here in the United States of America alone, we have 351 million inhabitants according to the last census. So this is a vast continent, and still we have many places that had to be, populated. We don't have actually a proper distribution of inhabitants, and so was the case in way more back in the days of the natives, and of course back in the days of different peoples, of different empires, and because they were thriving, were big empires, there were lots of advancements, lots of things. But when people think about the Spanish conquerors taking over, they think about, how did they do? I mean, they came out tired after months being navigating, then actually sailing through, the seas, crossing the Atlantic and getting to first Lake Española, what is today modern Haiti and Haiti and Dominican Republic. Then eventually in the 1500s coming to Mexico through what is called Tabasco right now, through the areas of Tabasco. Then getting to meet the great cultures, of course. There were three very impressive cultures. Wait, we're talking about Aztecs in the north, and we're talking about
The question
Incas
is, why
in the
did I
south,
ask
and in
for-
the middle, the Mayans.
Okay.
So that's
So-
it. What? What do you
Okay, so
What
the
else
reason
was it?
why we talked about that is because I brought up the fact that mankind throughout all of history has been an incredibly vicious,
Go fast, read life.
torturous, I don't know, human being. So,
That the humans have been actually bad to each other. That's what you're saying.
right.
All throughout the history, man. You sum it up, you bring it down, you narrow it down to when the Aztecs were actually conquered per se by the Spaniards, and it was eventually an integration also with the conquering.
But
And human beings have based their history upon conquers after conquers after conquers. That's what we were talking about as well.
But people should give pause to that. You should really think about, you know, how can the human race be so mean and nasty and kill and torture and maim and, you know, and we have to understand that we are
Evil nature.
Well, I wouldn't say we're evil nature, but
We have an evil
there's-
nature. We do. We
there
have a
is
good
a-
side, but a bad side too.
There is a monster in us, as Jordan Peterson says, and we like to talk about
Evil nature.
Jordan Peterson
Jordan
and,
Peterson, yes, sir.
and
Call it out, James.
you know, and Carl Jung, you know, his,
God,
you know. So anyway, it gives pause, and it's important to think about that, to think about what is inside of us and what we're capable of doing to each other.
I want to say that we're capable to do to each other. We saw it through the history of humanity. Unfortunately, we're more capable to do wrong than right, but when we do right, we're also a glorious species. So that's why I came with the anti-human concept. The fact that you have to deal with things and say, oh, that's being human. And then when you try to talk somebody into being better, you tell them you have to be more humane. Sometimes being more human and more humane, I don't know what it actually has to be related to. The thing that I know for sure is that you have to relate being better, not just more humane.
Hey, let's
A
talk,
better
let-
human,
okay,
that's what I
let's,
was
let's
saying.
talk about this. Okay, so people think Zelensky is actually a hero. I think that maybe he's not such a hero. I think that Zelensky should make whatever peace he can with Putin, and the reason being is Russia is not such a bad place to live, and these people in Ukraine are risking their lives and they're dying.
Yeah,
and
they're
pain
not
and
to
torture.
blame for
What?
somebody who actually invaded. I mean, I don't. Let me be clear about something. And you know that I've been there for almost 2 months.
You know,
I
but
was
I
in
think,
Ukraine.
I think
It's not about Zelensky being the bad or the good guy.
people think
It's about,
Zelensky's a hero, but really, he
well, at
might-
this point, what would you say?
I think he may just be an egomaniac. You know, like Hitler was thought of a hero
Yeah, but his
in
people-
World War One, but he was just an egomaniac.
No, he wasn't. Let me tell you. There's a
Yeah.
made-up story. There's a made-up story about him because he got the cross because of a soldier called Goodman. Goodman was a Jewish soldier who actually was the one who captured the French guard that were in front of that building, for which he actually got the Iron Cross. Eventually, things came out to what they came out to. Moving fast forward into Second World War, the only award, only military award of rank that Hitler ever got was that Iron Cross. Nothing else. He never got promoted from the state of being a corporal. He was nothing but a corporal. But that's another story. But the thing is that it's easy to judge when you're not there. And the problem here, I don't care about politicians. I care about people. What I saw in the field, in the battlefield, people suffering, which is the main thing that we have to stop. That we have to try to stop is the suffering right now.
Yeah,
Because
the pain and suffering.
and I understand Putin's position. If you want to see it from his perspective, But I do not condone by any means the invasion, the violence, the war. Listen, Russia has a spot in the Security Council of the United Nations. They can certainly use that to move their agenda. They don't need to invade. I do get the motives. I do get the fact that they feel threatened. It was in Georgia in 2008, the Crimea thing in 2014, and now the full-blown war there in Ukraine. But that doesn't mean that you have to follow through and proceed with war. I mean, me personally, rescuing people from obliterated buildings, from destroyed buildings, I can't tell you the suffering. It's amazingly brutal. And that's what I care about. Politicians have failed us over and over, and they keep on failing us. And you see now we have the Roe versus Wade thing overturned. People don't exactly know they don't exactly know what's an abortion, what's an interrupted pregnancy. They keep on talking out of their asses, not literally knowing a lot. We keep on moving forward with this January 6, 2021 thing, and we're missing all the other parts of the puzzle here. The fact that you're probably going to go, and it's not only happening to us, it's happening all over the world. We having it bad, but some other countries having it really worse. The fact that we have to go to the pump and pay $5.50 for a gas gallon, for a gallon, that actually shakes down all of the economy. Whenever you pay more for gas, you pay more for everything. Now you pay more for drinks and stuff like that. So the war in Ukraine, and the many other conflicts are actually bringing everything down to crunch. But the main thing here is that we have to first and foremost talk and see how to end human suffering. Yeah, I know we started talking about Montezuma, and we started talking about the Spanish conquering. Of course, one thing that we have to know about that, this continent, this country, United States of America, none of it will have happened shouldn't Christopher Columbus, sponsored by the Spanish crown back then in 1492, shouldn't he arrived here to the Americas, none of this would have happened. Randy and I, we wouldn't have been born here. Probably, because your parents came from abroad, and mine too. My parents, Germany, Italy, France, Britain, and Spain, we came from all over. So, literally, this continent, this American continent, named after Amerigo Vespucci, an Italian guy. You know how the story was, right? Let me tell you. First, the place and the part of the continent that was about to be named America was Brazil. Because Vespucci actually mapped Brazil with a team of cartographers. And then after Vespucci, I think it was before he passed away, James Muller, who was a main cartographer in Germany and was a specialist in delimiting the continent, the American continent, decided to name first Brazil, and eventually they moved forward with the idea of naming the whole continent after Vespucci. Because Vespucci, Amerigo Vespucci, was the one who started the idea of delimiting the continent. But he had a group of cartographers working for it, and hence this continent is named after him, after this Italian guy. So just think about the name of our country. The name of our country, the United States of America. The United States of, the name of a guy who didn't know how to speak English, also spoke Italian, and fair enough. We have our fair share of Italians here. Hey, me right here. Full of Italian descent, but just think about it for a minute. I know we're actually bringing a lot of topics into it. It's not easy, when we talk specifically.
This is our first podcast.
First podcast. And we're going to go for many more. We're going to have people around here. How about bringing Mr. Asparagus here? That would be confusing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, anything else that you want to say? Randy? Before we call it? I'll tell you.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you. I watched a video today about Michaela Peterson, which is an incredible story where she grew up with such pain and suffering, and anyway, she finally did an all meat diet, and
an all meat diet.
An all meat diet.
So kind of
all
like
beef, all
the Atkins kind of thing.
No,
right?
no.
The Atkins is all
She
meat.
calls her diet the lion diet.
The lion diet. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So
carnivore.
anyway, that's kind of an interesting thing where if you go on YouTube and you just
Michaela Peterson.
Michaela Peterson.
And the lion diet.
And that'll lead you to actually Jordan Peterson, who
Yeah.
you really want to listen
Oh,
to as
interesting fella to listen to, yeah, absolutely. As it is interesting to listen to us, I mean, believe me guys, I mean, we're going to come out with more topics, and you have all the content here at Epic News. Marcelo Palermo, thank you very much. You can see you around the shower. You're going to
I'm
be
almost
showing.
done reading *Sapiens*.
We're going to
so
talk
I'll
about
have more of
Sapiens.
a report.
Yeah, we got to talk a little about that, right? Because we're talking about almost 500 pages of sheer and pure knowledge. So something more to come. Thank you guys for watching this Epic News. My name is Marcelo Palermo. This is Randy Showery, and we're going to bring around the table with Dr. Valenzuela, Mariano Willer, a couple of other guys too. And yeah, if you want it in Spanish, I can do it somehow for you. Pero eso me lo tienen que pedir via email or messenger. Or you can actually leave it in the comments here. Thank you very much. See you soon. Stay tuned. Bye, Randy. Thank you. Bye.